Well, I'll give you a little bit of history of jade in Lillooet, how it came about. My father-in-law and my wife's uncle, Ned Holbrook, they taught me how to mine. And we were mining on the Bridge River. When this fella comes along pounding on rocks, we know what he's doing, we know what he's looking for. He's looking for jade. He comes up, he said, "Have you fellas seen any heavy green rocks?" Well, my wife's uncle, who had a good sense of humor, he said, "All the green rocks are heavy," he said. This fellow says, "I'm looking for real dense rocks," he said, "that you can kind of see into though." Now, he wasn't going to tell us what he was looking for, so we weren't going to give him any information. Finally, he said he's looking for jade, and did we ever see any jade on the Bridge River? Yes, we had. We know what jade is. We had seen jade on the Bridge River, so we took him over to about a 4-ton boulder that was sitting on top of 2 big granite boulders, and underneath was quite a hole. That's where we used to stick our sluice box so it wouldn't rain and snow in the sluice box. So we showed him this 4-ton boulder. He almost died of a heart attack. He was looking for little cobbles like that, and here's this huge boulder of jade. Well, anyway, then we got to talking, and we didn't know the value of jade. We didn't have a clue who to sell it to. This is way back in 1955, 56. And, oh, he said, "I got contacts." He said, "I could sell jade." So we made a deal. You get the buyers, send them up to the ranch, and we'll go 50-50. You get half, we get half. So that's worked. It worked well until he sent us up the guy, a real con man, that conned us out of about $3,000 worth of jade, and that was a lot of money in those years. And that was the end of the deal. But in the end, we did get hire a lawyer, and we did recoup half of it anyway. But anyway, from there, now, a lot of the locals started realizing we were making a few bucks on this, selling these rocks. So they got into the jade business as well. Well, it only took us about 3-4 years, and we cleaned out most of the creeks of the jade boulders. Cleaned out Bridge River, Marshall, Tyax. So now we got to go in the mountains and find where this jade came from. We know where it came from, we just got to find out. It's okay. Now we go back to the Craigmont mine in Merritt. My wife's uncle was working at the Craigmont mine. They were having problems with their mill that they couldn't fix. Kennecott Copper owned 12% of Craigmont. So they sent down to Utah to get a couple senior engineers to come up and fix these problems that they had at the Craigmont. When they solved the problems, these engineers say, "Well, now we're in Canada, we want to go sheep hunting." So Ned says, "Well, I'll take you over to Lillooet," he said. My brother-in-law and his son-in-law, they're sheep hunters, and they'll guide you out for a sheep hunt. So they come over, we take them up to the headwaters of Hell Creek, we camp. Next morning for breakfast, I said, "Fellas, this isn't going to work. We only got 2 hunters and we got 3 guides." So I said, "You guys go get a sheep, and I'm going to go find a jade mine." Well, these engineers, they were senior people, they thought that was funny. There's this young guy thinks he's just going to walk up the hill there and find a jade mine. Well, anyway, they did. They went sheep hunting. I saddled up. Now, Hell Creek has got 3 forks, one right, one left, and one up the middle. And whoever named the creek named it right, because it's one hell of a place to get into. But I decided I would go up the middle branch, because it was the easiest way to get my saddle horse up there. I get about halfway to where I think I want to go, and there's a jade mine sticking out of the hill. Now, I recognized jade, I knew what I was looking for, and the reason I was looking where I was looking is I had an idea where to look as well. But then you got to have a little luck too. But anyway, I broke a piece of jade out, about 4 inches wide and about 8 or 10 inches out of this jade mine. I headed back to camp. I'm making supper. The hunters come in. They had a real nice billy goat. I said, looks like you boys did okay today. Got yourselves a nice goat. Yep, he said, we did. By the way, he said, how did you do in the jade mine business? Well, I said, I got lucky. I said, I happened to find one nice jade mine too. Well, we took this piece of jade home and we cut it on the diamond saw. And in the middle was a piece about the size of a silver dollar. Beautiful green jade. Well, we knew we had a jade. And from there, we started packing jade out on horseback. It was 9 miles to the closest road. That was where my father-in-law's ranch was. And it was 9 miles from his ranch to where the jade mine was. So the only way you get in there was horses. And we would pack out, we'd cut 75-pound pieces. Now they were about 4 or 5 inches thick and probably 10, 14 inches long. And you'd put one on each side of the horse. That'd be 150 pounds per horse.
Wow.
And in the 3 summers that we packed out, we probably packed out 10, maybe 12 ton of jade on them horses.
Wow.
Now we were selling this jade to a fellow from West Germany. And he was always complaining about the price of jade, even though he was only paying $3 a pound for real nice jade. And today that jade is worth about 60, probably 70 pounds, $70 a pound. But anyway, he kept complaining. Finally, my father-in-law said, look, Oscar, why don't you buy the mine, cut out the middleman, and you'll get rich. Well, he didn't think too hard and too long because he bought it. But he didn't have horses. He didn't have a clue how to run them if he did. So he's got to charter a helicopter. Well, the price of his jade almost doubled. So he did this for 1 summer. He flew jade out. Matter of fact, they would bring the truck and park them on the ranch, and then they'd fly the jade from the, it was up at the 7,000 foot level, and they'd fly the jade from there, put it on the truck at the ranch. Well, after he did this for 1 summer and found out he wasn't making any money, he comes to my father-in-law. He said, Ed, would you ever consider, he said, buying that jade mine back? And my father-in-law said to him, no, that's okay, Oscar. He said, we had one time. We don't want to go back into business. But that's where the original jade came from in Lillooet. Was we started all from one fellow telling us he could sell jade and so on, because up until that time. But then everybody got, oh, them guys can find a jade mine, there must be more. Well, in the end, there was quite a few prospectors in Lillooet. We had 6 jade mines operating at one time in Lillooet. Now, some of them had some real nice jade. The Hell Creek mine had some nice jade. But for every ton of jade you get, you probably get 10 or 20 ton of junk. So you have to take saws up there, you've got to cut it up in the mountain, pack out the good stuff, and leave the rest. But then, over the years, nobody did anything about jade, but we had an English teacher in Lillooet by the name of Erdman Toon, an artist and a teacher. And he came to me one day, he said, George, you know, we should set something up, he said, showing the history of jade in Lillooet. Well, I agreed with him. So a native had found about a 5-ton boulder. And we went to the village and said, we'd like to buy this jade boulder from this native, and we'll set it up and show the history of jade in Lillooet. Well, they gave us some money, we bought the boulder, and we set the jade boulder up. When we get it set up, one boulder sitting on that courthouse, I don't know if any of you folks been to Lillooet to see our jade display in front of the museum. Well, anyway, we made a courtyard, set this jade boulder there, and when we got done, it looked kind of lonesome. So Bill Cook, who was also one of the jade miners, Harry Street. I don't know if you folks ever heard of Harry Street. He lived here for a while. But anyway, he had found a jade mine up in Knoll Creek. He didn't have any money. Bill Cook was building a log road, so they got together and made a partnership. And they hauled some huge boulders to Lillooet. Well, I knew these boulders was laying in the ditch there by Bill's shop. So one day I said to Bill, "What are you going to do with these jade boulders, Bill?" "Not a thing." He said, "What do you got in mind?" Well, I told him what we were going to do. "They're yours," he said. Furthermore, he said, "You're the only man," he said, "that ever called them jade," he said, "so you can have them." We cut those boulders, we put them there. Now we had 1, 2, 3, 4 boulders, and they looked pretty good. But for some reason or other, this jade project took a life of its own. "Oh, we should put some down Main Street." Okay, we'll start down Main Street. "Well, maybe we should come back on the other side of Main Street." Okay, we'll come down that side of Main Street. Well, by the time we got done, we got 31 monuments of jade in Lillooet. And some of them are actually gem quality jade. But we had a good friend by the name of Kirk Makepeace, who was the largest jade miner in the world. And he was a friend of ours. We talked to Kirk, he donated some jade, and he sold us some beautiful jade for $2.50 a pound, and some of it now could be sold for $60 to $70 a pound, some of the jade there. But it's a very unique thing, our 31 monuments, and one fellow said to me, because we were going to call it the Jade Monuments Capital of North America. And this one fellow said to me, he said, "Well, what if somebody else sets up 32? Well, I said, "We'll go get another piece of jade." But that's what we have, folks. We have 31 monuments in Lillooet, and they run downtown, they run by the cemetery, they run across the river, and we got jade all over the place. And I'll tell you one more little story about the jade business. To the Maori, which is a New Zealand Aboriginal tribe, jade is a sacred stone. To them, it's a piece of heaven. We had an indigenous gathering in Lillooet about 5 or 6 years ago, and they had tribes from all over the world, from New Zealand, from Brazil, from Ecuador, from all over. One day this fellow comes in the store, my wife runs a store in Lillooet, comes in the store and says, "Which one of you guys is George?" That's me. He introduced himself as chief of the Maori tribe in New Zealand, and he said, "When we find a little piece of jade, he think we found a piece of heaven. I come to Lillooet," he said, "and he got tons of jade all over the street," he said. He thought that was really odd. So anyway, we gave him a nice piece of jade.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
But that's how the jade business got started in Lillooet, and if you folks ever come to Lillooet, I do the jade walk. I take people on jade walk, I explain where the piece came from, and the little story that goes with it.
Where do we find you? At the museum or out of the museum?
At my wife's store. 626 Main Street.
And that's a little bit of the history of Lillooet.
Would you mind? Are you going underground in jade, or
No,
is it just
no, the jade is
surface?
on top of the ground, and we just pack diamond saws up, and we would cut with the diamond saw till we got a pack load. But it got to the point where one saw wasn't enough. See, for 4 horses, we couldn't cut enough jade over the weekend for 4 horses, so we took a second saw and started cutting the. Holbrook was on my wife's side. Her dad
Grandfather.
came in, or her grandfather came into Lillooet in 1896.
My question is, has silver ever been found in that mine at Holbrook Creek?
Okay, it's named after Charlie Holbrook. That was a gold mine. and there was actually very rich ore, but it was a very small vein. And him and his partner mined it for a while. Then they sold it to some German or to English people. And the English people put some money in, and they put quite a tunnel in, but they never ever made a mine of it. And there's been more, I can't tell you how many different companies have gone into that mine. They did some tremendous amount of drilling, and they blocked out about 92,000 tons of 0.23 ounce per ton, which is real rich ore. But 93 tons, that's 2 days run in the mine. So they can't make a mine. A lot of people think serpentine. You've seen this blue rock around this country, that's serpentine. A lot of people think serpentine is just jade that didn't quite get developed. But that's not so. Jade and serpentine are two complete different families. Jade is an amphibole. Serpentine is a pyroxene. So they're two different complete families. They're not related whatsoever. But the funny part is, you cannot find jade unless you have serpentine. So when you're going prospecting, the first thing you look up the hill, oh, there's some serpentine there. I'm going to take a look at that serpentine, hoping I can find some jade. And a second indicator of jade is a rock called rhodonite. It's called white rock. It's rhodonite. If you find serpentine with rhodonite in it, then your chance of finding jade are very good. It doesn't mean you're going to find it, and when you do find it, it doesn't mean it's going to be good for you, yeah? But no, over the years, the prospecting has been a lot of fun. And you know, it's like Robert Service said about the Yukon. He said, it's not the gold that I'm wanting, it's that I'm wanting to find the gold. And this is what all prospectors do. They're looking to find it. Once they find it, they know the hard work starts. Yeah. So they'd rather just look for it than actually find it. Yeah, well, thank you, folks, for listening. If you folks have enjoyed it, I have.
Yes,
So
very
we
good.
both had a good time.
It's an adventure now.
Now we're all coming to Lillooet.